To moderator, Mark Acciard from Atkinson. I'd like to, with your permission, direct a couple of questions about the budget to the Budget Committee.
Sure.
I notice, ladies and gentlemen of the Budget Committee, in the regular...
Pardon me? We don't need a motion for that. I just start the basic discussion. Yes. Are there any, so you want to have some questions you wish to ask?
Yes, with the moderator's permission.
Go ahead.
I notice in the regular programs, account number 1100, account grouping 1100, I should say, there is a replacement equipment line that we intend to spend $118,000 this year for replacement equipment. I'd like to know what is being replaced for that almost $120,000. Does anyone on the Budget Committee have that information?
We're gonna get it.
If you give us a second, sir, I'm sure we can come up with the information.
There's quite a bit of detail here, but a number of the schools attempt to freshen up one or two classrooms every year. So each of the elementary schools, for the most part, have some classroom chairs and desks. Excuse me. Areas such as that. I see a couple teachers' desks just glancing through some of the detail. This is in Atkinson, 2 teachers' chairs, student desks, a few tables, desks and chairs. In Pollard, for instance, 26 student desks and student chairs, student tables. It's a variety of
That sort of stuff?
pardon me?
That sort of stuff.
That type of thing.
Mr. Moderator, a follow-up question? if I
Sure,
may?
go ahead.
I notice the answer is coming from the school, the SAU business administrator. Does anyone on the Budget Committee have this information?
We all have this information.
Okay, here's my question. The numbers on this budget, who prepared the budget?
You can answer that.
The budget is a process, and the process that we follow, and it was, I guess, highlighted briefly in Mr. Balanoff's comments in the beginning, but we begin the process with department folks and building administrators that come forward to a joint meeting of the Budget Committee and the school board, and they make their presentation on their needs for the upcoming year. That information is compounded by Mr. Stokinger and myself. We put that together, and that becomes our first draft that we go to the Budget Committee with, and we begin to work through the process with them. In terms of who actually does the math, does the input into the computer, prepares the reports, that would be the work of the business administrator, and it would be done under my direction.
Well, I understand that process. I used to chair the Budget Committee in Atkinson, but that wasn't exactly what I was asking. I'm asking if anybody, I've seen the process, I've been to and watched meetings. Thank you for whoever does the Danville delivery site, because without those meetings up there, we would have no idea what our Budget Committee is doing with our $63 million of tax money. My question is, state budget law requires that the Budget Committee has sole authority for the preparation of the budget. The school board and their representatives, which in this case would be the superintendent and the business administrator, have no authority over the preparation of the budget. The only people legally in the state of New Hampshire that can move a budget line, change an amount in a budget line, add or subtract a budget line are the people sitting here. I watched the so-called public hearing where Ms. O'Neill of the Budget Committee laid out the process by which the school board has a written policy that the superintendent writes the budget. I've seen meetings where the superintendent tells the Budget Committee that their job is simply to review and recommend. My problem with this is that you have the organization that spends the budget writing the budget. There's no checks and balances there. This committee has the responsibility to do the due diligence on the numbers they're presented by the superintendent and see that those numbers are needed, to research what is being spent, to see if maybe equipment can be put off till next year or brought forward from next year to this year if there's unexpended amounts remaining in the current year's budget. They have the due diligence to review the teacher's contract before it's put up on a warrant article to make sure that the numbers are accurate before they're presented to the voters. I've seen none of that in here. As a matter of fact, I have a question for everyone sitting up here. How can you present a budget when there's been no legal public hearing on this budget? Can anyone answer that for me?
I believe there was a public hearing on the budget.
I saw that public hearing. I've seen the video of that public hearing on Danville Delivery. The problem is there were only 3 budget committee members at that hearing. That doesn't form a quorum. That budget should never have been read at that meeting. That meeting should not have been allowed to continue. It should have been rescheduled because there was not a quorum there. My question is, how do we get to this point when that point was never met?
That's not a question that I can answer. I'm not sure who wishes to.
Presumably, somebody at this table can answer it. We have the school board and the budget committee here.
Would anyone care to address that question?
Well, the answer is that, I guess our interpretation is that we have had a public hearing on the budget.
Okay, and when did you have that meeting? Are you talking about the same meeting,
Yes.
January 12th?
That's correct.
And there were only 3 members of the budget committee at that meeting.
That is correct.
It's a 9-member board. There's 7 members
Yes.
filling seats currently, 3
The
members.
budget
is not a
was
quorum.
presented to the public.
Yes, it was, but there was no quorum there. How can you have a meeting without a quorum?
It is a public hearing.
A public hearing has to be posted 7 days in advance,
And it
and there
was.
has to be a quorum of the board in order to carry out the meeting. I have the state RSAs right here. I'd be happy to read to you if you wish. I want to know how you can present a budget when you have not had a public hearing on it.
Again, we contend that we have had a public hearing on it. Was it legal? Yes, we believe it is. It is based on our own, do you want to speak to it?
Well, I don't know what the bylaws are, if you're claiming that there are bylaws, but are you claiming that at a...
Not bylaws, sir. State revised statutes annotated, state
Okay.
law.
And
not
what's,
school bylaws.
what statute would you like to cite, sir? I don't think this is the time and place to do it, but if you'd like to do that and the moderator will allow it, that's fine.
The statutes regarding the governing of a town meeting or a school district meeting require that a quorum be present before any business is transacted.
Well-
A quorum is defined as a voting majority of the board. It's read that way in the definitions section of RSA Chapter 32, of RSA Chapter 40, and of RSA Chapter 39.
I think what the superintendent is saying is that the budget was presented at that meeting, was, no votes were taken, as I understand it. It was presented, it was a public hearing, it was presented to the public. If no votes were taken at that meeting, I believe that it was actually a valid meeting.
With all due respect, sir, even you are addressing it as a meeting, and under the state law, you can't have a meeting without a quorum.